The longer that I remained on scene, the more it appeared to me that she might be trying to deceive us.
Okay. So when you said to patrol right there on the scene, she's having a panic attack, that was false?
Like I said, at the current moment, that was not, because we just arrived on scene. She was exhibiting these behaviors right then and there at first. I did have a genuine concern at that point. The longer that we were on scene, the more it became apparent to me that she might be trying to deceive us.
Okay. Tell me why it is apparent to you that she's deceiving you right there in the front of the house.
So since then, I have been to an interviews and interrogations course. It was 40 hours. In that, we were trained on how to spot certain behaviors that indicate that someone might be trying to deceive law enforcement during an interview. One of those is change in emotion or possible fake emotion. And what I mean by that is there's instances in this where she's manic, she's screaming, she's yelling, and then she'll be calm for a while, and then out of nowhere she starts up again. Like I said, I didn't observe tears coming out of her eyes. That's another thing that they taught us. There's several instances in this where she's not making direct eye contact with us. She's kind of closed off, which is another indicator that someone might not be telling the full truth.
So obviously in your report that you wrote a report, right?
Yes, sir.
Obviously in your report, you wrote, I had fears or concerns that she was faking this.
Not in the report, no, sir.
Okay. In other words, it's not in your report anywhere.
Correct.
Okay. You've testified in this case before.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't mention it that time either?
No, sir.
Just today? For the first time?
Yes, sir.
That was Richard Thomas, the second deputy that arrived on the scene after the 911 call that Suzanne made. Now, he actually was the one that stayed with her, interviewed her, and the hour and a half that they showed yesterday was him and her. He was trying to get out of her what transpired, what happened, and she was all over the place. Now, this is going to be the end of day one, beginning of day two of the killer dentist murder trial. If you have not been following the case, I'll give you a recap. As always, please, major trigger warning. Dr. Suzanne Mericle is currently facing murder charges for allegedly taking the life of her boyfriend in March of 2025. Now, what do we know so far? First and foremost, the prosecution stated that they had a toxic relationship. In fact, she had found out at the end of December of 2024, he was talking to another woman that was in Moldova. He was sending her money and in fact was paying, I believe, for an apartment in New Jersey. She was not okay with that. She was always arguing with him. They were constantly getting into arguments. However, this time she took his life. The defense is stating that she is a victim of domestic violence. And in fact, after her and David purchased the home in Gainesville, Georgia on Lake Lanier, he said that's when everything changed. He used to be her prince in shining armor, but eventually, as they signed the house, he became violent, became abusive. She was not allowed to tell anyone what was transpiring. That particular day, she was attacked. She only defended herself. As I mentioned, that was Richard Thomas. The next and final witness of day one, he testified for about 2 hours on day two, is Sergeant Cameron Durham. Now, he is actually the criminal investigator for the case. They interview him, and the first thing that they ask him is, as part of investigating the crime scene, in addition to taking photos, what did you do when you started working on the case? He shares that, well, when he arrived at the scene, they were still waiting for a search warrant. Then what he did is that he went to the hospital. Why? Because David's body was already at the hospital. He went there, took pictures, then he comes back. They asked him, what did he observe at the hospital? He said, the victim was there. I observed the injuries to the body, collected the clothing at the hospital, and any personal effects that he had. After he left the hospital, he went back to the scene. At this point, they are showing so many pictures. I was actually very surprised at some of the graphic pictures that they showed, but they showed everything from beginning to end, where you can see the holes or the window busted. You can see the garage doors that are open. You can also see the blood everywhere, the blood on the hammer, all of that. He's just kind of breaking down every single picture that he took. One of the things that does stand out is the fact that the bathroom, there are bloody footprints. Keep in mind that one of the things that deputies said when they arrived on the scene was the fact that she wasn't responding to them in the house. So they were calling and saying, hey, the deputies are here, open up. And when they looked in, they saw her crouching, cleaning everything up. So the assumption, of course, that's why there's bloody footprints, as well as more kind of smudging of heavy blood everywhere. Now, they continue talking about the fact that how he was shot, how his life was taken, and they kind of, I want to say reimagined. I can't think of the word, but they put up a door as if it was a bedroom door. He explained that according to the blood, it showed that he was kind of standing or crouched behind the door. She shot into kind of the sideway of the door where the lock is. He was hit and he fell. And then it continues to show, according to him, when she pushed that door open, he was essentially dragged out of the way so that she could actually get inside of the room. They then bring up the fact that, keep in mind, she had swallowed the case, She flushed the casings, and they had to, of course, get a plumber to go through the piping and get the casings out. Also, the defense team, when they started cross-examining him, the biggest thing I think that kind of hit was when they asked, did he test the fingerprints? In other words, she insisted that she replied or fired because she was being fired at. She did so in self-defense. Unfortunately, they did not test the fingerprints of the victim to confirm that there was any type of residue from shooting a gun. Now, I will go into the next video. We'll continue with day 2. What are your thoughts on this? This is kind of a crazy case. Talk to you soon.